Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, September 21st. Hopefully, you're all doing well and enjoying the start of fall. Today, I wanted to talk about comfort and misery. How, as you get more established in your corporate career, you often can become more miserable at the same time. It's kind of a trap. So, this is something I've been thinking about for the last few weeks. Honestly, I've had to write my script quite a few times and make this video multiple times. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, when you're in your early 20s, at least when I was in my early 20s, I spent so much time just trying to survive. Whether that was working one job with a lot of overtime, working two full-time jobs, etc., always kept me busy and kind of on that hamster wheel. But now, as I've kind of gotten more and more established in my career, the total number of hours you need to work is not as many as I was when I was in my early 20s. So you have a lot more free time, and it's easy with this free time to kind of get distracted by what I call work perks. So these could be, your corporate lunches and or dinners, golf tournaments with, or even just going out golfing with clients. This could be, booze-filled networking events, corporate travel. These work perks can really take over your life, and I've seen a lot of 40 plus, even 50 plus year old individuals get consumed by this type of environment. As we get older and these kind of benefits, these work perks initially are wants, as we get older, they become necessities. I've seen it over and over again where someone may have just driven a normal car before, but then a year or two later passes by and now they have to drive a BMW. They have to go to the most expensive restaurants because, the family restaurant on the corner doesn't work anymore. I think a lot of this is really just to subsidize the misery that you're facing because you don't like these corporate jobs where you finally feel stuck. So instead of finding a way out, then you just subsidize it with these kind of short-term, small dopamine hits, whether that's a nice restaurant, buying those designer clothes, etc. The misery prompts the comfort, and the comfort results in more misery. It's a vicious cycle. It's Ouroboros, if you know what that is, the snake eating itself. It's easy for me to sit here and kind of put blame on others. It's really easy to get incentivized and pulled into the typical attractions within a corporate office. Now, I can already hear you saying, Mike, oh my God, I love to go for these free corporate lunches and I'd love to do all these networking things and be flown for work trips and etc. And yeah, there's some benefits to it, but I'm telling you now, man, like people definitely get trapped in this type of lifestyle. So there's nothing wrong with these types of work perks, but just don't let them become your only personality. And don't let it be the only reason that you're going to a job, because that's a quick way to become absolutely miserable in your life. I liken a lot of these things to like a lotus land. Now, this is a concept to where people enter into a building and or a place and they get lost in time and they don't know actually how much time goes by. I think this is really like a modern corporate environment at the same time, right? People go in their early 20s, they get so distracted by the corporate grind and they get a little bit more established, more comfortable, and then it's easy to lose 5, 10, 20, 50 years of your life to this cycle until you kind of wake up and snap out of it and decide, okay, what do you actually want out of your life? Misery? I don't want to say corporate misery, but comfort in misery. And some of the things I think we can do to combat it, which I'm going to talk about next. Now, not everything is bad. There are things you can learn inside of a corporate environment when you might be miserable in the short run that you can use to become more positive and happy in the long run. So, without further ado, let's get into some of my observations. Tip number 1. Really, you can experiment with things you might be interested in your own life, but for free. So what do I mean by this? If you're going to meet a client, let's just say you're taking out a client to a lunch, why not pick a restaurant you've been wanting to try? And if the company's paying for it, why not go for it, right? And if it is an expensive bill, instead of you footing the bill, your company is. Further, a lot of corporations have pretty extensive medical plans and benefit plans. So I'm not just talking about, whatever, getting your medication subsidized or going to see the dentist. Those things are great, but that's not really what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is a lot of benefit plans I've seen includes things, benefits like maybe having a personal trainer, being able to have a reserve for maybe fitness classes or gym membership, getting free massages, maybe going to see a medical counselor or psychologist. And maybe if these things aren't free, they're heavily subsidized. So maybe you only pay 5 or 10% out of pocket. So through your extended benefits plan, you can really experiment a lot with a lot of things, right? Like for myself, I discovered my old previous job that I really enjoyed hot yoga because there was like a health spending account and we could pretty much spend it on whatever. So I decided to get some yoga classes one day. I tried it out and I was like, hey, it's actually pretty good, and it balances out all the weight training and that side. So yeah, you can discover a lot about yourself. Even though if you're kind of miserable during the day, you can kind of learn more about yourself in your free time, so that when you do eventually quit or transition jobs, that you know more about yourself and you're more comfortable. Point number 2, in these corporate environments, for better or worse, you can see how people's egos get inflated or deflated. So what do I mean by this? It's a little more subterfuge than just, lifestyle inflation. It's not just, oh, I got a raise, therefore I'm, going to apply for that mortgage. I'm going to lease that new car. That does happen. But sometimes you'll see people's personalities change. So some of them might be, quiet and shy initially, but then they close some big deals if they're in a commission sales job. And then, now their ego is, from here to the roof, right? And then they're just super high on life. Maybe they're spending lots, maybe they're just very aggressive and or egotistical. And then when they have a bad month, then oh my God, the sky is falling, and they're not feeling as great about themselves, right? And become more recluse again. So at least myself, I've seen it, some aspects of this in myself as well as others in the offices I've worked in. So it's almost like you can learn how to moderate your own ego through the ups and downs of your own life. Things are going good in your personal life, to be humble, so that when things are bad, you can have the strength to resolve against those things and say, hey, no, things aren't always going to be bad. I have had good times, and I didn't let them consume me. When those bad times come around, I suspect it's easier to say, hey, I'm not going to let these bad times overcome my ego as well. I'm not just going to be darkness, right? There's going to be some benefits too. So yeah, that's point number 2. Finally, point number 3, you get to really see what's important in your own life. Through all the vapidity of an office place, you get to see what's actually important. Forget all the luxury vacations, the cars, and the nice restaurants. What do you actually care about? And this is kind of like I guess maybe the highest level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is self-discovery. I can't remember the name of it right now. Someone in the comments will put it down, but it's almost like a transcendence, right? So do you care about philosophy? Do you care about your family and friends? I'm not saying you have to pick one or the other, but like, what do you actually want to dedicate your life to? And I don't think we get to really ask this when we're young. Maybe they ask it, in school. Okay, what do you want to be when you're growing up? Or, make sure you have a journal or something like that, to keep track of things. But not until you feel really established and comfortable in your life and you're awakened, do you realize, okay, I don't need all these trappings of modern society. What do I actually want? That's an important question. We don't actually ask that enough. Like I try to ask myself that every day, but even then, you have to figure out what you actually want. And, for me, for example, one thing I wanted was to start a YouTube channel. About a year ago, I started posting my first videos. So yeah, what I wanted to be is a YouTuber, and at least to help younger generations with, confidence and career and guidance, right? Things that I wish I knew when I was 20. Once you don't let the work perks kind of consume you, you get to realize what's actually important in your life. Is it family? Is it self-discovery? Is it philosophy? Is it traveling? You get to pick, right? So you don't let the consumerist mindset of a corporate culture define you. You get to define it yourself. And I think that's just a lot more exciting, and it's also a lot more empowering. So these are my observations of the corporate environment, and as we grow in our careers, how it's easier to become kind of more miserable and what we can do about it. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. This is a bit of a different video than my normal one, so I'm just kind of curious how you like this type of video. My more observational series, I used to do those, but yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I'd be especially interested, especially if there's anyone older watching this, just to say, like, after 20, 30 plus years, what have you noticed, right? Did you get trapped? Did you pull yourself out of, the trappings of the corporate world? Anyways, I'm just curious today. So that's it for now. Have a great fall, and I'll be making more videos soon. Thank you so much. Take care.